In this lesson, we want to talk about the assumptions and conditions associated with regression. So this is really our first time talking about assumptions and conditions. But essentially what we're saying is, if we feel that we want to try to explain a model using linear regression, we have to have these assumptions and conditions met in order to do that. So the way that we do that is essentially we check those conditions. So conditions for each type of model are different. For a correlation model, we have to check to make sure that both values are quantitative variables. So regression cannot be used on qualitative, or that means categorical variables. It needs to be two quantitative variables. So that's the first condition. Second is straight enough condition. That means if we look at our scatter plot, it should look sort of straight. If we look at it and it's curvy, we probably shouldn't try linear regression. Outlier condition says, do you have any crazy outliers that might make it impossible for us to use linear correlation? So if we have a bunch of outliers or even one outlier, we shouldn't. Or we can say there is an outlier, but that we're going to explain it away and therefore not include it. And then of course the last one, does the plot thicken condition. That has everything to do with our residual plot. So we talked before about how to make a residual plot using our calculators. So that's essentially what we're going to look at is, do we have a residual plot that looks normal? If so, then we should be able to use our correlation. So here's an example. We're going to check the assumptions and conditions for the relationship between sugar content and calories in cereal. First thing we check is quantitative variable. Sugar can be measured as a number in grams and calories as a number in a count of calories. So of course they're both quantitative. Looking at the first one, this is obviously the actual scatter plot, and it does appear to be straight enough. There's obviously some scatter, but essentially it's straight enough, so it looks okay. In terms of outliers, I don't see anything that's too crazy or out of control in terms of outliers, so I would say that that condition is also met. And then this is my residual plot, and again, sometimes you will see a residual plot with a straight line through here. I can't draw a straight line apparently, but that's what we would look at. See how it's just scattered all over the place, and I don't see a curving pattern or anything, and so I would say that we're okay, that we should be able to then use linear correlation here. And then at the end, we say, because the conditions are met, we can perform regression analysis, or we can perform whatever test we're doing. So we're going to be doing a lot of this throughout this course. This is sort of our first taste of it. Most of it we're kind of saving towards the last few modules, but this is essentially the first step is, here's all the conditions, yes, they're met, and now I can do this. Mistakes that students make quite often is quantitative variable, and they'll say, yes. Straight enough, yes. Outlier, yes. I want to hear from you that yes, it looks straight enough. There's no outliers. The plot doesn't thicken. I have a very nice residual plot. So don't just put yes on any of those. Here is your bridge age and reported safety score data. And I want you to check the conditions for this to see if we should be able to do regression analysis. So press pause, try those questions, and then press play to check your work. For the first, we're looking at quantitative variables. So I'm looking at age, which is quantitative, and the reported safety score, which is quantitative. So that one is met. Straight enough condition, it appears that we've got a linear negative relationship going on. I don't see any obvious outliers. And on this one, I didn't give you the residual plot. I'm not sure what happened to that, but the spread is fairly consistent from left to right. So I can check this on the residual plot. I can also check it on this plot. If I felt like this was getting skinnier towards the top, that would not be okay. This one, it looks fairly spread out and scattered, and I think that we would be okay to, of course, do linear correlation. Again, I would write my sentence, because the conditions are met, we can perform regression analysis.